The man's hand got caught in the iron gate. He couldn't get it out no matter how hard he tried. The firefighters rushed to the scene. They asked the man make a sound or wiggle his fingers, but the man remained unresponsive. The team speculated that he might have hypothermia or frostbite by now. Kelly thought the hinge might be a weak point. As long as they cut them, they could pry open the door. However, if they did so, the man's fingers would definitely snap off. But rather than saving his fingers, Kelly believed it was better to save his life. Just as the team was torn between options, Cruz suddenly came up with an idea.
What if we put 2 haligans above and below his fingers to preserve the gap, and then we pop the door on the hinge side, comes this way?
Yeah, good idea.
The firefighters quickly brought to haligans and put them on the top and bottom. Then they took out pliers and cut the hinges. Then they worked together. Finally, they dismantled the iron door. Fortunately, the man inside still had a pulse.
There's a pulse!
Firefighters entered the elevator to perform a rescue. Suddenly, the elevator dropped down. Just a moment before firefighters had arrived at an office building, they learned that something had gone wrong with the elevator, and it had flown up to the top floor. They pried open the outer doors to the elevator, but couldn't get the inner doors open. They had Herman, who was smaller in size, crawl through the crack to try and pry the doors open from the inside. As soon as he dropped into the elevator, it flew back down the shaft to the bottom floor. They raced back down to the bottom floor. Herman yelled that he was okay. He said there was a woman inside with a serious spinal injury. She couldn't hold on much longer and needed to be rescued quickly. Otis was ready to try opening the door again, but found that this door didn't have a keyhole. Since it was an old-fashioned elevator, only the top and bottom floors had keyholes. There was no time to break down the door. Kelly thought of an idea. He took a piece of paper and quickly ran to the top floor. He placed the paper on the door, lined it up, and cut a hole where the keyhole was. He then ran back down and placed the paper on the elevator door at the same spot. The team drilled a hole at that spot. Everyone realized that it was indeed the keyhole's location. They successfully unlocked the door and managed to open it. The trapped passengers were successfully rescued. Firefighter Kelly fell asleep on the subway. Suddenly, the car came to a stop as half a dozen people ran past him. He got up and headed through the double doors to see what they were running from, and found a man wielding a handgun with a woman who had been shot. While the man was arguing with the woman, Kelly sneaked up behind him. They began to struggle. Kelly seized the man's gun and threw it out of the car.
Keep pressure on it.
Forget 911, there's no reception this far underground. I got a radio in my cab.
Hey! All right, tell him to hurry up. She's losing a lot of blood. We need paramedics.
He realized there was more than one shooter, so he and the wounded woman jumped out of the car and chained the door shut. They ran up to an abandoned platform. Kelly said the bullet was close to her lung, and he was going to seal it so no air could get in.
There. Put pressure on it. You got it.
He set a fire on the platform to trigger the fire alarm. At that moment, the woman fainted. The 2 shooters broke free from the car and found Kelly on the platform.
Finish this, Andre. Come on, man, do it! Hey, G, man. Witnesses.
Seconds before they could kill him, the Chicago police arrived and saved the day. Firefighters arrived at the fire. A man ran out and said that there were men working on the 5th and 6th floors. Crews set up the ladder. Casey and Dawson headed up to the roof. It was Candidate Dawson's first day on duty. Then there was an explosion on the 5th floor. A man flew out onto the balcony.
Herman, you got a victim on the 5th floor balcony north side. Can you get to him?
That's a negative.
Casey, you too good on the roof. I gotta move this aerial.
Copy that, we're good.
Crews scaled the ladder and climbed onto the balcony. He carefully rescued the injured man and brought him down, then handed him off to paramedics.
Tracy, Dawson, I want you off that roof, now. Copy that, Chief.
Just then the roof went up in flames, and they couldn't get the ladder back up to them. Casey and Dawson had to use their bailout gear and scale the side of the building. As they were rappelling off the roof, an explosion occurred in one of the rooms. Fortunately, both of them were unharmed, but at that moment, Dawson's gear jammed.
I got a problem. This cable's stuck in my DC chair.
Don't panic. You got your cutters? Want you to cut the black cable.
With Casey's patient guidance, Dawson finally freed herself. Finally, they both landed safely.
You okay?
The sudden SUV almost took the door of the man's car off.
Learn to drive, you moron!
But unexpectedly, the police lights suddenly flashed, cursing the police on a New York street. The man seemed to be in trouble. The man instantly chickened out, softly explaining what had just happened. However, the man in sunglasses didn't listen to the explanation at all. He directly pinned the man against the car. As an officer from Homeland Security, he prepared to arrest the man for obstructing law enforcement. Coincidentally to patrolling officers passing by witnessed everything that had just happened. They were about to step in to help the man. However, the officer from Homeland Security insisted, saying the man tried to hit their vehicle. He's guilty of reckless endangerment and resisting arrest. One of the cops said they don't take orders from Homeland Security. Then the bald man said, "You'll take him from me," revealing himself as Lieutenant Apuzzo, NYPD. They were part of a joint terrorism task force, currently on a mission, ordering the two cops to arrest the man. Although they were very reluctant, they didn't dare disobey the lieutenant's order and had to obediently arrest the man. 13-year-old girl covered her bottom and cried out in pain. She babbled incoherently and her eyes rapidly trembled. The doctor suspected she had been assaulted and turned her attention to her stepfather. The mother said her daughter had been unwell recently and had not attended school, being cared for at home by her husband, so he was the prime suspect. However, the examination results had not yet come out. The girl suddenly convulsed all over and lost consciousness. The doctor performed an emergency intubation and sent her to ICU through a pelvic examination. The girl had severe lower body injuries and perforated mucosal tore. All the indications showed she was assaulted. It might have happened 5 to 7 days ago. The mother nearly collapsed upon hearing this. During this period, her daughter had been looked after by her husband. The woman had the worst suspicion, but she didn't want to believe it was true. The detective interrogated the girl's stepfather. He believes the stepfather was not the suspect because he agreed to a polygraph and DNA test. They also found trace amounts of triazolam in the girl's blood, a sedative hypnotic with amnestic properties. The doctor suddenly thought of the girl's braces. Dentists also sometimes use triazolam. They finally knew who the suspect was. Sergeant Grant was about to get with her boyfriend, unexpectedly due to a mishap. They both ended up handcuffed to the bedpost. This was no longer fun, as the handcuff key was still hanging on her belt. Grant had to maneuver around the bed attempting to push it over, but it was clear that this position lacked leverage. Her boyfriend suggested calling a friend for help, but Grant refused, not wanting others to see her in such an embarrassing situation. They needed someone reliable to assist, but her phone was also on the belt, and she couldn't recall her friend's number. Helpless, she used the man's phone to dial 911. Fortunately, the dispatcher was an old acquaintance, Abby. Grant repeatedly emphasized that she must send her friend Hen over and assured her that she wasn't in danger, just that the situation was a bit awkward. Hen arrived promptly upon seeing the scene. She didn't rush to help, as the sight was too amusing.
Are you done?
Tina, you called 911 for this?
Grant explained that she could only remember 911. All other numbers were stored in her phone, which was over there by the belt.
And the key.
The key! You called me over here to walk across the room to get you the key.
After laughing enough, Hen finally took the key and tried to unlock them, unexpectedly.
Put it right there where I can get to it.
Seriously?
Told her to leave the key and go quickly, saying she could unlock the handcuffs herself, and also brought over the belt, in case they wanted to try something more exciting. Then took out her phone, pretending to take a selfie.
I need to go.
The boy was having a high fever at that moment, but the nurse told him to wait in line. They would call him when they had a doctor available. Helplessly, the boy continued to wait, but he still didn't get his turn. Just as he was about to ask again, he blacked out and fainted. Seeing this, the nurse quickly called the resuscitation team and sent the boy to the emergency room. On the way, they unexpectedly found a plane ticket in the boy's pocket. The doctor was instantly shocked. He instructed everyone to put on masks immediately. The boy's skin color, the country he came from, and his current symptoms all pointed to one disease.
Ebola.
Everyone instantly became alarmed, elevating the protection level to the highest. Before the test results came out, the FBI arrived first. Half an hour earlier, they had received a message from ISIS. The organization claimed to have sent an Ebola patient to the United States for a terrorist attack. The boy said someone came to his village, offering to take him to the US to make money, and even bought him a plane ticket. Before leaving the country, they gave him a shot of travel vaccine.
He's not a terrorist.
Dr. Goodwin explained, if it were truly a terrorist, they would have gone to a crowded place where he could have infected the entire city, not